What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a certified personal trainer and I share all things health, fitness, and my lifestyle on here, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So make sure you're subscribed and follow along. Today we're just doing a little sit down chit chat, okay? It's been a while since I filmed one of these videos, but I love them because I feel like I'm just giving advice to my best friends. So I'm gonna be sharing 3 training swaps and also 3 nutrition swaps that I made to achieve and also maintain my goal physique. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I often post my progress photos and I share before and after pictures and videos. And every single time I do that, I get so many questions in my DMs, basically just asking how I achieved such a drastic physique change and drastic change in my body composition. And this is a topic I am so incredibly passionate about. Obviously, I love all things health and fitness, hence why I do what I do, hence why I became a certified personal trainer. But I also just love sharing my own experiences and my own fitness journey with you all, not because I think that my way is the best way. Not at all. I always say that we are all so incredibly different, so what works for me may not work for you. We have different lifestyles, different goals. We have different interests when it comes to training and nutrition. And we also have completely different starting points. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. I am just simply sharing what works for me. And I hope this either inspires you or motivates you or gives you a starting point to go from for your own trial and error. Before I get into my 3 training swaps and 3 nutrition swaps, I want to quickly mention mindset. Mindset was not an issue or an obstacle for me when it came to making these changes. Basically, I just understood that what I was doing then, before, was not working. So I pretty much just decided to throw everything out the window, start from scratch, do some trial and error to find what actually worked for me, what made me feel better, and what actually made me progress towards my goals. But after talking to hundreds of people now at this point about my physique transformation, I've realized that mindset is a huge piece of the puzzle, a huge hurdle for a lot of people, because change can be scary, change can be very unknown, and it's kind of hard to make a change when you don't know if that change is going to elicit the results you want for sure. But you have to be willing to make that change and go through the trial and error to find what works for you, because it is so incredibly rewarding. But I know that that can be a very big hurdle and obstacle for a lot of people. You just kind of have to tell yourself that yes, the change is scary, and yes, it will be time consuming, but it will be so incredibly worth it once you genuinely find what works best for you, what gets you towards your goals, and what makes you feel like $1,000,000. Moving into my training swaps, swap number 1 was switching my focus to strength training while applying progressive overload rather than filling my workouts with tons of body weight and lightweight exercises. So yes, I did still lift prior to making these swaps. However, I was lifting. I was doing tons of HIIT. I was doing long distance runs, sprint intervals, pool workouts, random Pilates workouts. Like, my workouts were just all over the place and there was really no method to them. I was kind of just beating my body up over and over again. So it's really no surprise that I wasn't progressing in any one area. I was just doing way too much with no actual plan, I guess you could say. Like, yes, I had goals, but what I was doing was basically working against those goals. And when I say that now my focus is strength training while applying progressive overload, please don't think that that means I am increasing my weights every single workout, every single week. No. Progressive overload is basically any little tweak or adjustment you can make to the exercise to make it slightly harder over time. And you want to apply progressive overload to your workouts so that you continue making progress and so that you don't hit plateaus. But it doesn't have to be achieved by increasing the weight. That is one way to do it, but you can also decrease the rest period between sets. You can change up the tempo of the exercise. You can add a pause. So those are some little tweaks I like to apply to my lifts just to keep things interesting and to make sure I'm still progressing. And yes, of course, over time, I do eventually increase my weight. My rule of thumb for lifting and choosing weights is that your last 1 to 2 reps of every single set should be difficult but doable with near perfect form. So typically those last 1 to 2 reps are a lot slower, they're a lot tougher, but you can still get through them with near perfect form. Form is always key. Form is always like my main focus because I want to avoid injury and I want to make sure I'm feeling each exercise in the muscle groups I'm supposed to be feeling them in. But yeah, that was kind of a little tangent, but my main focus is strength training and of course my daily walks outside, and it has been such a game changer for me moving away from all of the random, super intense body weight HIIT workouts that I used to do, because those were just stressing my body out. I didn't feel good, I wasn't making progress. I was basically doing them for no reason. It was working against me, like I mentioned earlier. And that may just be me. Maybe your body thrives with tons of HIIT and super intense cardio. Mine does not. Mine feels better, looks better, performs better when I'm just taking it chill, doing my lifts, doing my walks. It's just what makes me feel my best. Also, might I add, everyone these days wants the lean, toned look. Doing tons of HIIT and cardio isn't going to give you that look, because strength training actually has the greatest adaptive effect on your body, meaning that it elicits the most results. Strength training tells your body that it needs muscle, and your body's really smart. So it knows that if you're strength training, your body needs to hold on to that muscle. Thus, in turn, it burns body fat. Whereas when you're doing tons of cardio, that kind of tells your body that it doesn't need to hold on to the muscle, and you in turn burn it. So that's why a lot of people who do tons of cardio, tons of HIIT, kind of have that skinny fat look that a lot of people talk about. So strength training gives you the most bang for your buck. Training swap number 2, I kind of already touched on it, but switching from all of the crazy intense HIIT and running and cardio to just focusing on getting outside for my daily walk and my 2 LIST sessions a week. LIST stands for low intensity steady state cardio, but if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I get outside for a walk every single morning, my daily 3. It's just a super chill 3-mile walk out in the fresh air. I listen to a podcast or I chat on the phone with my mom. It's my me time, and it's something I genuinely look forward to doing each day. It's how I get some movement in first thing, and it just makes me feel my best. Not to mention, I work from home and work out at home, so I really don't get any extra movement or steps in throughout the day. So I kind of do it for my sanity and because it makes me feel so amazing. And then when it comes to my 2 LIST sessions a week, if you have any of my programs or my app, then you already know this, but I lift lower body twice a week and then I lift upper body twice a week. My lower body lifts are around 60 minutes and then my upper body lifts are like 20, 30 minutes max. They're short, sweet, to the point, and I love them, but because they're so short, I pair them with 30 minutes of low intensity, steady state cardio. I do a 30-minute incline walk, usually on 10 to 12% incline, and usually at 3.5 miles per hour, and it's tough. Like, it's way harder than I thought it would be when I first started incline walking. I sweat a ton. I do live in South Florida and it is hot as crap, but it is such a good little cardio workout and I love it. Twice a week, 30 minutes each, plus my daily walks, truly has made such a difference. Going from such a high stress environment with all of the HIIT, running, sprints, and crazy cardio that I was doing before to my calm, chill walks and lists, like, it's just been such an enjoyable change and I feel so much better. I look so much better because my body isn't super stressed out, and I love that change that I made. And lastly, training swap number 3 was giving my body the rest that it needed. Your body needs time to rest and recover if you actually want to make progress. When you're working out, when you're lifting, you are breaking your muscles down. You are physically tearing them, and they need time to repair and rebuild if you want to get stronger. And before making these changes to my training, I was working out crazy intense, 6 days a week, giving my body 1 active rest day where I would get outside for a nice long walk, but every other day I was beating my body up, working so hard, so I thought, but literally for nothing, because I didn't give my body the time that it needed to actually recover before that next workout. So it was like I was doing everything for nothing. Now, like I mentioned, I lift 4 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I have 2 active recovery days, Wednesday and Saturday. Those are basically just days to do movement that feels good and restorative. 9.9 times out of 10, I just get outside for a nice long walk, usually 4 to 5 miles. Occasionally, if the weather is like exceptionally nice, I'll go on a little 2-mile jog followed by a 2-mile walk, and that'll be my active recovery day movement, but that is rare. But those are my 2 active recovery days, and then Sunday is a rest day, but I still get outside and do my daily 3 because once again, it's just some movement that helps me feel my best, and I love being outside in the fresh air. It's just amazing to me. So making that switch from little to no rest to plenty of rest made such a difference, and I started actually progressing so quickly. Like, it was noticeably a drastic change in how I felt, how I looked, the amount of weight I could lift. It was just incredible to see how impactful that rest actually was and how essential it is within my training. All right, moving into my nutrition swaps. Swap number 1 was switching from tracking macros and tracking calories to eating completely intuitively and just fueling my body with the foods that genuinely made me feel my best. And yes, this is way easier said than done, but because I had tracked for so long and I had learned so much from tracking, it made eating intuitively very easy. I learned what 20 grams of protein looks like. I learned what different foods are made up of. I learned what foods help me feel my best. I'm also really good at listening to my body and the cues my body gives me. So that also makes intuitive eating very easy. But once I started just eating the foods that made me feel my best without worrying about calories or macros, it truly made such a difference in how I felt, and in turn, also how I looked, because intuitively, I just started feeling my body way better, for lack of better words, than I was before. So before, when I was tracking macros and tracking calories, I was hitting those macros and calories every single day, but they just weren't the right macros and calories for me and my goals. For starters, my crazy high protein intake goal. I was aiming and eating 1.2 to 1.3 grams of protein per pound of my goal body mass every single day, and I felt terrible. Basically because I was force feeding myself past full to hit that number. I was so full, so lethargic, I felt weighed down, I felt bulky. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't enjoy feeling that way. So that's kind of when I knew something had to change. I also used to eat but somewhat low carb. And carbohydrates are our body and brain's primary and preferred fuel source. And through eating intuitively, I have learned that my body thrives on high carb. And I did lower my protein intake goal to about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body mass. And holy cow, it made such a difference. And in case you're wondering, I do not track macros or calories at all anymore. I did track for the first 1 to 2 weeks of my initial cut phase back in August of 2022, but I have not tracked since. Basically, when I tracked then, I was just kind of getting a feel for what my calorie deficit calories felt like and what that consumption was like for me. And since then, if I ever go into a cut phase or a bulk phase, maintenance, reverse dieting, I just adjust my portions. I'm such a creature of habit. I'm usually eating the same things over and over again, especially when it comes to breakfast and lunch. I always switch up our dinners, but I just know what works for me. I know what quantities and amounts, eyeballing obviously, work best for me and make me feel my best. So that is why I can eat so freely, eat so intuitively, and still maintain my current physique. Definitely already touched on this, but nutrition swap number 2 was lowering my protein intake goal. Like I said, it went from 1.2 to 1.3 grams of protein per pound of goal body mass to 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body mass. And that seriously made such a difference. Basically, like I said, when I was eating that higher protein goal, I was force feeding myself past full to hit those numbers, and it was hard. Like, it is genuinely hard to eat that much and to get bulky like I was. And once I lowered it, it just became so easy, so refreshing, and so much more enjoyable to eat my meals. I wasn't trying to pack protein powder into different healthy desserts or anything like that. Now I can just eat normal, and it's just such a better experience. And I'm no longer force feeding myself past full to hit some crazy high protein goal, but I'm still eating such a sufficient amount of protein for a girl who lifts. It's just been one of the greatest changes of all, and it has made such a difference on how I feel, how I look, my grocery bill. Yeah, I love it. And I know that that probably sounds weird because oftentimes you hear of girls under consuming protein, whereas I'm coming from the complete opposite end, over consuming protein. But I think because girls often under consume protein, that's why it is like shoved down our throats on social media. I feel like everything I see is like protein, 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 which nothing against protein. Protein is so incredibly essential and so beneficial. You need to consume a sufficient amount of protein if you want to build muscle. And like I said, I still consume a plenty sufficient amount of protein, but that is why I always suggest doing your own trial and error, playing around with your macros to find what works best for you. And lastly, nutrition swap number 3 was switching from what looked to be a healthy diet to a balanced diet. And I feel like this is gonna be a hard one to explain, but my diet before making these changes, I feel like an outsider looking in would think that that diet was healthier than my current diet, when in reality, that diet was full of tons of processed, low carb, low calorie foods, and I was consuming tons of supplements, and I really wasn't concerned about the quality of the foods and ingredients I was eating. Whereas now, that's like my main focus. I love paying attention to the quality of the foods I'm consuming. I shop organic with certain foods. I always look at the ingredients, and now my diet is so incredibly balanced, and I enjoy all of my favorite foods in moderation. I have a good 80-20 split, where 80% of the foods I eat are whole natural foods and ingredients, and the other 20% are not so whole natural foods and ingredients. I feel amazing when I am sticking to a whole foods based diet, but I also love treating myself every once in a while. You guys know me, I love my Trader Joe's ice cream cookie sandwiches. I basically have one every single night because they fit into my diet. That's the balance, and I truly feel amazing eating in this way. And like I mentioned earlier, I also eat super high carbs, so tons of fruit, tons of veggies, because of course those are carbs, rice, potatoes, but also tons of breads and pastas. Like, I'm Italian, I can't not have those things. But once again, this balance just works for me, and I definitely pay way more attention to the quality of the foods that I'm eating and the ingredients within the foods that I'm eating. All right, with that being said, I am gonna wrap this video up here. I know I just kind of briefly touched on each of these 6 swaps, and they kind of overlapped a little bit, but please let me know if there's a topic that you want me to go more in depth on, because I'd be happy to film that video. Like I mentioned, I love these little sit down chit chat advice sessions, and I love sharing my experiences with you guys. But once again, take it all with a grain of salt. Do your own trial and error, do your own experimentation to find what works best for you, because honestly, it is so incredibly rewarding. All the trial and error, the experimentation, all the time that has passed, I wouldn't trade it for the world, because it led me to where I am now, and it led me to find what makes me feel my best and what gets me the results I want. So don't just think that you need a quick fix. Put the time in, put the trial and error in to find what works best for you. But I hope you got something out of this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a like, make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you all next time. Bye.